A tutorial by Learn Fast Studios.
Welcome back to the Learn Fast with RK. In the earlier session, we have discussed about how to implement simple decision making statements in Python, that is, simple if condition. In this session, let us try to learn one more decision making and branching statements, if else statement. There will be certain sort of the scenarios where if a given condition is satisfied, then we need to execute one block of statements. Otherwise, we need to execute another block of the statements. For example, we may read a number, and if the number is divisible by 2, then we can decide that the given number is an even number. Otherwise, we may decide that the given number is an odd number. So this sort of the cases, we will be writing both the type of the statements, and basing on the given condition, we will execute only one block of the statements in the return statement. So now let us see what is the syntax for writing down this if else statement. If condition colon, then you need to write true suit, else no need to write any condition, then false suit. As we already discussed that um, in the Python we don't have um, brackets in order to group the statements. We will be using the indentation. Colon followed by the indentation will say that the statements that are written like this are a group of the statements. Now, what will happen? So, whenever we write this sort of the statements, then a specific condition will be verified. The condition given here will be verified first. If the condition returns a true value, then it executes the true statement. So, otherwise, it will skip execution of this true statement, true suit, and then directly enters into the else suit and false suit, and then it will execute this block of the statements. Now let us try to um, write one example for this if else statements. I am using ideally and file, new file. So the aim of this program is uh, to read a number. This is a Python program that reads a number and check whether given number is even or odd. As I already told you, in order to write multiple line comments, we will be using these 3 triple quotes. You can also make use of the 3 single quotes. Now, in in order to read a number, let us initialize that variable n, and then let us use a method, input method equal to input of enter number. The specialty with input method is normally in other programming languages like C or Java, we need to use one statement for the prompt and other statement for reading the statements. But here it was simplified and then easily given for us. So whatever the prompt that you want to display, you will display that prompt inside two single quotes or two double quotes, either, because it is a string. So a string can be denoted either two single quotes, two double quotes, or likewise. And then whatever the input that you entered here, the value will be read in the format of the text format. Once you read the value in the text format, now you need to perform that. You need to perform a type conversion operation over this inputted value, because in order to perform arithmetic operators, the value that is stored in the n should be a numerical value. Now let us use int method that is taking string object and converting that an integer equivalent value, returns that integer equivalent value to n. Let us pass this whole string, which is read by the input method. Here this int is also using there are the two versions in the int of object. It assumes that the number that you have entered in the decimal. You can also mention the base value for this particular value that you have entered. This can happen in the case, suppose if the number is in the octal format or a hexadecimal format or the binary format, you can mention directly so that it will take care of that conversions and then store the resultant value. Now let us see. We have completed this. I always prefer to go for the incremental verification of the program. So let us save this program. In order to save this program, we need to go for file, save, and let us write event check. You can give any name. Always prefer to use a meaningful name so that later if you see that program name and then documentation section that you mentioned in the top of the program should remind you what is the purpose of your code. Otherwise you need to see through all the logic whatever you write. Suppose if your code is end up with a 3 or 4 lines, then it will not be that sort of a difficult. But in the industries, you need to write a large group of statements. In that case, seeing across all this code will be a difficult task to decide what is the purpose of the code. So always use some meaningful identifiers as well as and use some sort of the documentation so that this will be helping you to identify what is the purpose of the code. Now here I have mentioned that event check. Let me save this, and in order to execute I will be using this function F5, and it is asking me, it is prompting me to enter a number. Let me enter a number 5. if you want to observe what is the value that it has stored in value n, simply you just press n. Now this n contains the file. However, now now let us get to the sweetest part of the code. Uh, we are having two statements. One is print the given number is even. Another is print given number is odd. We need to execute only one statement among these two, that too based on the input value n. In order to perform that, Python facilitated with one decision making and branching statements if else. Now let us try to see what will happen if we keep a normal simple if. In that case, if n, in order to perform the modular division, we will be using this mod operator 2, and then we will be using the relational operator is equal to 0, and then let us start the suit. Yeah. So now what will happen if we write the code like this? It will verify the condition, and if the condition is satisfied, then it will execute the statement. Now we can also write down the similar kind of statements. We can define an odd number to be which is non-divisible by 2. In order to compose that sort of the condition, if n mod 2 double not equal to 0, then we will decide that given number is a non-even number. Now you can write down the code like this. In this case, it needs to check both the conditions. The first, it will verify the interpreter will come to this line, it checks this condition to make a decision whether the statements that are written inside the suit to be executed or not. If the condition is true, if the given condition is a true value, then it prints this particular statements, otherwise it will skip to the next statement. And here what will happen, again we are having one more condition to be verified, and if this condition is satisfied, then only it will execute this block of the statements. But if you observe, these two statements are executed in a scenario where there is mutual exclusion between the condition satisfaction. Let me tell you one more that's out of the scenario. Suppose if you toss a legal coin, always there is a possibility either to get a head or to get a tail. You cannot get both the cases. So these are the possible outcome scenarios where you may have only one possibility among the two. And here in the case, even the given number is an even or odd, that is also can be decided based on the given number. If the number can be either even number or an odd number. So in that sort of the scenario, again checking for the condition after verifying that given number is not an even number, again verifying the condition is an useless task. So that this particular statement, checking verification condition, can be replaced with else. Now what will happen? It will verify for this particular condition, and if this condition fails, automatically it will execute the suit that you wrote in this else block. Here there is no additional condition to be verified. If the given number is not an even number, obviously that will be an odd number. So that is the reason why we are not verifying the condition again and saving the valuable time for the interpreter. So that's it, guys. We come to the end of this if else statement demonstration. Let's execute this code and check. In order to execute this code, let us save this code and use function F5 to execute. Now it is asking me to enter a number. I suppose you know what is an even number and odd number. Now let me give you one input, 8, which is an even number, and we assume to get an output as an the given number is an even number. If it displays like that, then we can decide that our program is working properly and able to identify what is the given number. Now press enter. Yeah. So now let us see one more time whether our program is working fine with an odd number or not. Again run module. Now it is prompting me again to enter a number. Now this time let us give a number which is an odd number. As you all know that if a number is non-divisible by 2, then it is said to be as an odd number. Yeah, that's it, guys. So in this session, we have learned about what is the syntax for the if-else statements, and these if-else statements will be helpful to implement decision making and branching statements in the mutual exclusive conditions. In a sense, if one condition if the condition is true, then a set of the statements have to be executed. If the condition is false, another set of the statements are to be executed. In that particular sort of the scenarios, then only we can make use of these if-else statements. Um, that's it, guys. We have taken one use case if-else statement to implement this, and then we wrote verifying whether the given number is an even or odd. That's all for today. Have a great day.